Whether you're leading for the first time, leading through change, or learning to lead all over again, this space is for you. No fluff, no gimmicks, just real talk from those who've led through challenges, adapted under pressure, and thrived in the face of change. Welcome to Command to Corporate, where leadership isn't just taught, it's lived. Let's get to work.
Welcome back, everyone, to Command to Corporate C2. We're your host, LP and T.
What's up?
Uh, and it's a good day today. How you doing, T?
Doing great, brother. Last day before a long couple of days off. So, yeah,
Yep,
happy about
yep,
it.
absolutely. Though by the time this post comes, that time will be over with. But
Yeah.
nonetheless,
That's
we
why
are
I left
getting
it
ready.
vague.
Nonetheless, we are getting ready. And
Yeah.
actually, this episode for what we would consider like our season two or next series of episodes of trainings, if you would, podcast material. This is our last that we'll be doing. And so we'll be jumping into some new content. So we'll take a little mini break, reflect on how we need to approach things going forward. But regardless, it'll be focusing on, the leadership, giving those nuggets to our listeners or our viewers out there. So stay tuned for more for sure. Hopefully, and definitely keep shouting us out and sharing and all that good stuff. We and leave the comments. We don't see enough comments at all, so we need to get those comments because that could we could do some spin-offs of our contents. We could do episodes, see some good comments, and say, you know what, we need to spin off and talk about that. So definitely drop those comments in there. So,
Definitely.
but today's episode, we're talking about after action reviews for your career. For your
How
career.
appropriate at the
Yeah.
end of this,
Yeah.
block of ours.
Yeah. At the end of this block, and it's the end of the year. So,
That's true.
it's kind of all coming together. And takeaway going into the new year. So for those that may not be
Mm-hmm.
familiar with AARs, after action reviews, and maybe something you can apply in your careers for the new year. So take that in consideration. So what is an after action review or AAR? So I'm gonna keep this honest, go by the book. So
Mm-hmm.
after action review, AAR is a structured process for continuous learning and performance improvement, originally developed by who? The U.S. Army. Look at there, the U.S. Army, and now widely used in various industries. It is a professional discussion among participants of an event or project to identify what happened, why, and how to improve for the future in a blame free environment.
We got to come up with a list of similar names for the same process, right? Because I think
Mm,
there's other names for it other than after action review. Obviously, that's like a military term. But civilian term, I think you hear a lot of feedback session. Is there another name for it that you know? Like,
First thing that comes to mind from the continuous improvement space is FMEA, failure effects mode analysis.
say what?
So FMEA, is it FEMA? I think so. FMEA. No, failure modes effects analysis. FMEA.
Oh, that's new
So
to me. Okay.
yeah, so they have a RPN, so risk priority number. So basically, it's the same thing. You kind of use it in the same way where you say, what is that action that happened, and then
Hmm.
you kind of score it. And based on the priority level, then you kind of dive into it, and it's like, okay, what do we need to do to prevent this from happening again? And then
Oh,
from
okay.
there, you generate actions, assign owners, and really try to implement it. So when I think about project work and maybe even with the AR, things went well, things didn't go well. Why did those
Hmm.
things not go well? How do you make note of it so that you don't repeat it again?
Bro, you're on another level, man. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, for those that don't, look up both. I mean, but definitely, using an AAR, and from us both being in the Army, sat in plenty of AAR sessions following, usually for us, field exercise, for me at least, for field exercises. So you come back and it's like, okay, we went through these maneuvers, we took these positions,
Hmm.
we were on the offense, we were on the defense, what went well and what didn't work well. Because the whole idea is to just get better over time, keep improving.
Yeah, I feel like I've after each training session that I've
Hmm.
had or conducted, there's always usually an AAR, the instructor
Yeah,
wanting feedback. Oh yeah, I guess we still do that to some degree. You know, if I provide some sort of training, like I'll ask for feedback, how to improve it. But that's just ingrained in my head because of the army, right?
yeah,
So going back to the definition, I think when it said structured, I kind of like hesitated a bit because I think it doesn't have to be structured, formally structured all the time, right? Like, I think you could have quick, informal, what would normally be called washes, right? So it's not as in depth, but it's something very quick to get the lowdown and kind of like, all right, especially if an event was like very quick, it wasn't very long and very detailed. Like you could have a quick AR. It doesn't have to be super structured. It could be just really quick and informal. So that's the only
yeah.
thing I think I push back on that definition.
Yeah, I guess as long as you, I guess, counter to that would be as long as you, I guess you could take it, but as long as you somehow capture that, where you do something with
Sure.
it, because it's the actions
Yes, that's true.
afterwards. So if you're just informally just jotting down some notes and it's like
Hmm.
that, as long as you take it and we can see that it's been applied in the next wave or instance of a project, then it's fine.
That's true. Yeah, I guess the most important part of the after action review is actually like taking action on the feedback or the observations
Hmm.
that were made. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fair. It doesn't matter how you collect information, but there are techniques.
Yeah. And for those listening and watching, I mean, you can always look up an after action review template and find it.
Mm,
Definitely cater to your needs, because some of the stuff in there, especially if you find one truly catered to the military, you won't need in the civilian space. But you also may want to challenge some of the questions. Say, how can I use it? Maybe you get a little bit more out of the session. So that's an opportunity too. How does reflection accelerate leadership growth? T, that's all you. Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, actually, yeah, I think there's a few several ways, right? I think it fosters innovation because hopefully you're learning something that you did not know previously based on whatever exercise you were doing, right? Learning
Mhm.
could be something that went well, or learning could be something that went bad. And
Yeah,
so what I love about that, when you learn something that went well, sometimes there's other opportunities that you apply that to, right? They may not be directly parallel tasks that you've done in the past, but it's close enough. You're like, oh, I learned something from this project that I did, and I might be able to use it for another project,
hmm,
and which is at that point it could be innovative because it doesn't directly apply, but you could kind of it shines some light on a project that you would not have looked at it any other way if it wasn't for
yeah,
the AAR.
hmm,
It fosters collaboration because it really encourages people to participate. It's a safe space for people to participate, especially if you set the ground rules up front.
yeah,
So I think people feel empowered when providing feedback, obviously. Personal growth, I
hmm,
think a lot of times we don't have really great opportunities for others to provide feedback, right? Other than like maybe your boss giving you feedback, and it's always like, ah, it's so hard to get it, but you accept it. But
yeah,
like,
true.
your peers or people that work for you, it's kind of nice uh, that they're telling you some of your blind spots are and your opportunities. So it's always good. And then it shows humbleness, you know?
Mm,
Like if somebody's willing to say, hey, what could I have done better? It shows that you're willing to grow. It shows that you're not perfect, and it shows that you're willing to develop. Which also encourages others as well, and that makes you as an approachable person. When you see
yeah,
your boss who's like, oh, my boss has some like quirks. I was like, oh, but he's cool, or she's cool,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So yeah, that's how I see it, honestly.
yeah. And I would say, reflection, taking the time, especially if you truly from an individual standpoint, really inventory, you know, whatever happened, the task, your approach, all of these different things, everything, and then actually say, okay, what can I do to improve for the next time? And really taking the time, like, how did I present in this meeting? How did I direct
Mm.
these people? How did I facilitate this? And maybe looking at the collective feedback and then being able to, and maybe it might be better if you got surveys and got things and just reviewed it versus
Yeah,
hearing it. Hearing it is tough. If you
that's
read
true.
it, you can go, okay, let me take a step back. Hearing it, you can always ask for clarification. Sometimes people may want to say, well, I don't want that direct feedback. How about you jot it down and I read it, which is fine. But ultimately, it can accelerate leadership growth because you're looking to improve. How can I get
Yeah.
better? So reflection can accelerate leadership growth if you apply it, if you do it. So now,
Mm.
now if you say, well, I saw it all, I think I'm good. Well, maybe you keep on moving because you are good, or maybe you don't, because
Yeah.
sometimes you get hit with things and you may not realize how it's coming off. And I'm guilty of that plenty of times. And but for others, it's like, yeah, that's the way, you probably came off harsh or a little too direct. And so you start to see, well, if I kind of soften it up, maybe I get more, better outcomes if I do that. And I think that goes back to your point of being humble.
Yeah, man, humbleness really goes a long way. I've noticed with your team. They're like, oh, he's cool. He's not perfect, and he knows it, or she knows it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Back to you again. What's the difference between reflection and rumination?
All right. So
Just a side note, I had to look that up. I was like,
me
what the
too.
hell is rumination?
I know it's like I was like, huh. I started thinking about it. I was like, they're similar, but they're not obviously. So yeah,
Yeah.
here's the definition, right?
Can please use it in a
Rumination.
sentence.
I haven't gotten that far.
All right.
All right. So definition is a repetitive, often negative thought pattern where you get stuck replaying past events, mistakes, or worries, focusing on the why and what if without finding solutions, which intensifies the stress, worsens conditions like depression, anxiety, and OCD. So that is rumination. Reflection. This is the definition of reflection: thinking deeply and calmly about past experiences, action, or ideas to gain understanding or make future decisions. So once I read those, I was like, oh, okay, so this is clear to me. Um, I think it's rumination. It's like when you get stuck going down a rabbit hole and you don't come out of it, right? Like that's you're thinking about a problem and you keep digging and digging and digging. It's like what ifs and what if that, but you don't find solution. You just end up so far down the rabbit hole and confused that you just give up on it and walk away from it, right? That's the way what I think of ramification. So it's all thought, but no solution, no outcome, and there's no progress to it. Where reflection, the objective is to kind of uh, take future actions based on it. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
as you talk, it's almost like reflection is, looking for an opportunity to improve. Like,
Mm.
what are the takeaways that I can get from this that help me get better?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas rumination is, it's it's going to pull you down, and it's just going to keep pulling you down. Like, you're not looking for a way out, a way to get better. It's just this
Oh,
circle of, I should have done that better. Oh, what was wrong with me? Why didn't I? And
yeah.
then, but then it almost then pulls you down. And because you're not able to get out, not able to find that solution, you probably be worse off than that. Let's say you present it. You were nervous, you maybe
Mm.
had some tics, but everything is magnified for you as a presenter. It may not be
Yes.
noticeable for others.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
then you come out of it like, dang it, I messed that up. I
Yeah.
didn't, I wish I would have done this. But you don't do anything about it. You just keep saying, I sucked, I this, I that, everything went
Uh,
wrong. I should have had the font different. I this. So then when you come back
That's
up
true.
there again, it's even more pressure on you because all
That's
you
true.
took was the negative. It what you didn't do right versus what you did do right, you
Mm,
know.
yeah, that I think rumification leads to drinking, to be honest. That's all I was thinking when you were saying. I was like, yeah, I've been in situations like that in the past. Like, really,
You
it's
spiral,
yeah,
that's the only thing I can think. You could potentially spiral and then
yeah,
it's just gonna make things worse.
yeah. I mean, I'm laughing about it now, but like, it was a serious situation back in the day. I had an issue where, yeah, I like was stuck in it, like you said, in a spiral, downward spiral. And at one point I was drinking and I was like, holy shit, like this is not good. It was not healthy.
Mhm.
Luckily I was able to snap out of it, but like I could see how people could get very easily slip into that depression and then self-medication. Man, yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah.
All right. Enough getting
Yeah.
drunk.
So definitely, no, no, but definitely, you know, for those listening, you want to really reflect. It's like look for what you want to
Hmm.
take everything and
Hmm.
even the good. Well, how can I make it that much better? And the things that maybe didn't go as well, how can I make those better? So always looking for how can I get better? Like don't get
That's
stuck
true.
in that rut because everyone makes mistakes. Everyone's learning. There's plenty of people out there that are not don't like to be in front of crowds. Maybe they're more of an introvert type. They don't like presenting in front of us. But you know what? Just put yourself out there. Just try it. If you're reading, so be it. Read, look up. One of the things I remember in the military going before promotion boards, looking at people in the eye would make them nervous. So they say, like, look right here on their forehead.
Yeah, yeah.
So hey, if you're in a room, look at everyone's forehead. They think you're looking at them in the face. So do that to get through. So
Brother, I still have some situations like when I was a private, I remember talking about I think it was like, so I was a private, I was like PV2, right? Like
mm,
less than a little bit over a year in the army. And I was talking mad schmack about this like E7. Um, and he just happens to be behind me.
hey T,
Brother, to
give you
this,
hold on one second. Can you hear any background noise? Or you am I
uh-uh,
clear? You don't hear anything?
you're
Okay,
clear.
perfect. Keep going. Good.
Yeah, and then I realized like this guy's behind me. And I was like, to this day, I just remember, I was like, I made such an ass out of myself, man. Like, I just couldn't get over it. Like, I felt so bad. And it stayed with me. Like, here we are, like 20 years later. I still think about it and I still feel bad about it, but at least I'm not stuck in it. But
Mhm.
stuff like that can stick with you, man.
Yeah, for sure. They sure can. So how do you run a personal AAR after a project? I think we kind of covered that. You basically just take that self inventory of what went well, looking at every aspect of the project that you were a part of.
Hmm.
And I would say personally, I don't do that enough. Like I will run something, I will check all the boxes, but it's no reflection. And I think taking away from myself going into the new year and even learning from what I didn't do this past year, how can I do be that much better in the new year? Because of saying like, how can I get better? How can I keep more people informed? Because usually if I have it, I'm running with it and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Everyone has other things going on. So if you gave it to me, consider it done. And I think I've had that fault for years where it's like you gave it to me, counted as done, I'm off. Now, I may not come back to you until like the very end and be like, oh yeah, we're good. But I never gave updates because I'm like, I got it. So you said, hey, basically fire and forget. All right, I'm out. So I
Mm.
definitely see how, doing a personal AAR after, different projects you're doing would be helpful.
So I took that like for some reason I did not see personal, and I just saw project. When it comes to project, just because I guess you after leading so many projects, it's just whatever. So I look at it two ways, right? I think you could have like a informal and then a formal project AAR, right? So
Mm,
like the way I see informal could be kind of quick, very quick. Um, it could be after like project milestones, where like a
true.
milestone that took maybe like a month or 2 months, whatever, to do this to just achieve this milestone. Have a quick
Mhm.
like stakeholder session and figure out conducting the AAR. Then there's a formal, usually at the end of a project. Now that's something more serious. So that's something that should be a milestone of its own. It should be on your Gantt chart. It should be on your
Yeah.
calendar,
Hmm.
and all major stakeholders are invited to that.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I kind of see it. There's two different opportunities to do it.
Yeah. All right. That'll work. How do you facilitate team AARs without blame? I know for me, whenever I'm like looking at process sessions, anything like that,
Mhm.
I'm like, it's always process, not people. So even when I go
Mm,
into an AAR, let's look at process,
that's
tasks,
true.
actions, not people. I'm not concerned with who did what. It's just like what happened with this task. If the ball was dropped, it's like, well, this is was the outcome. So what was the task? What was the outcome? How can we improve it? I don't want to know who didn't do what. I think that's where you can kind of get away from blaming people. If so and so just did this, we would have been all right, and not get into those sessions. It's like let's just stick to process and because it can rotate. It's not like we're going to always have the same owners. So I think it's something we can all learn
Man, I would have, yeah, that's, I would have, that's hard. Somebody
from.
sleeping on a job and then
Oh,
something went wrong because of that. Oh my God,
oh, yeah, yeah, that right there.
I'd be
That's
pissed.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I was on
All right.
guard duty one time in the evening, and man, I just was not one to be up at night, man. And it was so rough. And I remember I'm right at the guard shack, and it was somewhere on West Fort Hood, checking people coming into some
Jesus.
place
Oh
that I
man.
had no clue about.
Yeah.
And I literally fell asleep. And then, right as the car pulled up, I just stood up and just walked out in front of the car. So they had to stop. And then I'm like, check your ID, like, because they had to stop anyway. But I like walked out right in front of them and they had to stop. Like, that way it's like, oh, I'm not sleeping on the job.
Wait. So what do you mean you woke up? So you're like sleepwalking, or were
So,
you
no,
like,
no, no. I woke up and just stepped out in front of the car to just stop them. I just didn't want to
ah,
get caught sleeping.
oh, so you
Yeah.
overreacted?
Yeah, I
Got you.
overreacted. Even and I remember one time I had a guard duty in Kuwait. Oh man. And I was supposed to get up, change, and the soldiers came and woke me up. Like, hey, Sergeant Perry. I'm like, what is it? What time is it? Hey, you supposed to have done this like 2 hours ago. I'm like, oh damn. I'm like, my bad.
Screw it. Go back to sleep. Apparently nobody missed you.
Yeah, like they came looking for me.
Oh man. So all right. So the facilitate AARs.
Without
I have
blame.
like a, huh?
Without blame.
Without. Well, okay, I'll try.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So I think I like to set ground rules for meetings, right? And I'm
Mm,
usually for this is for like a formal AAR. Ground
okay.
rules on a slide up at all time, and it'd be stuff like constructive feedback only. Propose a solution for any negative feedback. Do not yell. Do not talk over each other. Respect all
Hmm.
voices and points of view. No downplaying others' opinions. And then the other critical part, once you have those rules posted, is I kind of encourage not to have the leader or whatever, somebody that's in charge do it, because you don't want them to facilitate because people may not be comfortable talking to that person running the show, with a manager or project leader, whatever it is. So I usually like to have somebody from the crowd just kind of come up here and facilitate and just kind of nudge them a little bit or identify a person beforehand and say, hey, you're going to facilitate this. And this is kind of how I'd recommend you do it.
Mm,
And then you'd have one person basically taking notes. Um,
okay.
so yeah, you kind of want to not influence that too much because then it discourages people from like talking up and speaking up. So yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I would do it.
I mean, I feel you on, a couple of aspects. So you can't be yelling out, that was a dumb idea. That was stupid. Like you don't want to call people out like that. And then
Yeah.
I can feel you on the leadership part because I've had problem solving sessions where I remove the leader
Oh, yeah.
because their voice tends to be the loudest, and depending on
Mm.
their leadership style and relationship with the people may not speak up. So I
Yep.
remember one time having a session where, and this is not about AR but problem solving, but example of a leader sometime being disconnected.
Mm.
There was an issue with the morale or something in the team. I met with this person individually and I said, well, why do you think this is low? It's because we're short staffed. I know why it is. It's because we're short staffed. I said, okay, thanks. Then I meet with the team. I said, what's the reason for the morale? I said, is it because you're short staffed? They said, it has nothing to do with people. They said, we're covering down just fine. It was actually the leader that was the problem. And the
Yeah.
way that he interacted with them, that was the problem, and not supportive and missing in action and all this stuff. They said, we're good with not having staff. That happens. But he was disconnected.
Wow.
Just so
Yeah,
disconnected.
that sucks, bro. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
That's a total blind spot.
What questions belong in every AAR? Now, I have a couple that I
Hmm.
think are core questions. I'll run them down. So,
Hmm.
what were the objectives or expectations? So, basically,
Yeah.
what was the goal?
Yeah.
What actually happened? So, what was the actual outcome? What were
We
the
were raised by the
differences?
same parents, brother. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You left out
No,
what actually
no.
happened.
So, what were the differences? So, the success or failure, so
Yeah.
based on what actually happened, was that a success or was that a failure?
Yeah.
And then what should we do differently next time to improve? So basically that's the core. So our goal, what happened, what was success, what was it a failure, and then what can we do next time to improve, get better.
10 out of 10, brother.
Boom.
Good.
Keep it going then. How did the military instill the habit of AARs for UT? How did they do that?
Straight up brainwashed. Like there's no other way.
He drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I mean, but you're forced to, like, after each session, like,
True.
and then you're also one, as young leaders, we're often like put in front of crowds to provide some sort of training or give a class. Because it helps you become a better leader that way, right? But every training, when somebody's kind of like telling you, hey, when somebody says, let me see your slides that you're going to present, there's always like, where's your AAR?
Yep.
There's
Always.
always,
Always
always,
true.
always like and then even during formal field exercises, right? There's always after each activity exercise during in the field, there's an AAR. After each day, there's an AAR. After the entire field event, there's an AAR. It's just, I mean, literally every week, I would probably have at least three AARs for some reason or another, right? Because maybe you have the day you do training, so there's always an AAR there or whatever. You're about to say something.
And higher ups, they want to see those too, right? Like your next higher up, do they typically want to see it and review it?
Um, Honestly, I've not seen leaders that really wanted to see that,
Hmm.
unless they're actually participating in that event. But a lot of
Okay.
times they're like, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
And I
at
think,
the company level, sure. At the lower level,
yeah.
absolutely.
And I think this does lead into the next question. How can leaders use ARs to coach team members? Because that kind of goes back to my point of just going through those questions and sharing that with team members to say, how can we get better? Because it also, just as you said, constantly doing it over and over, but you're looking to improve. So that's definitely a way to coach team members because thinking about the military, if you did it at the company commander captain level, well, you're setting being, the standard for those lieutenants underneath you. And then if you're doing it up higher, so it's everyone is learning from that next level
Mm-hmm.
up,
Exactly.
understanding this is how we do it,
Yep.
understanding how to capture the feedback, how we implement it, all of these things. And then, you're also observing because
Mm.
that's the thing about an AR. You're asking for everyone's feedback. So you're
Yes.
listening. How do I engage with people? How do I do a blameless AAR? So
Mm-hmm.
all of these techniques and everything help coach others to run their own. And it's going to come if they're in the military at some point or another for any
Yeah.
length of
No,
time.
it's spot on. Yeah. And I also, for people that have like bad memories like me, I feel like a formal AAR is just like it's structured enough that it helps me remember like the good and the bad of the event, right?
Mm,
So it helps me recall it later on, as opposed to, you know, some mental note I took, you know, day one of the 5 day exercises. I may remember it day two, but I'm not gonna remember it at all after that. But like I
yeah.
feel like a more structured event, like I can still imagine some ARs I've had in the field in my brain right now. Like I still like it's vivid, you know,
Mm,
where you have like a observer controller sitting there, and we're sitting in tents, and we're going around the room figuring out what happened, you know, what went right, what went wrong. So it
okay.
helps memory as well.
Yeah. And I think it's good when you can literally file them away, I would say, and have
Mm,
them for record because, I think about certain projects and companies, they repeat.
mm,
It may not be like maybe there's a software implementation, but there's multiple software implementations, or you're standing
yeah,
up a new project and there's multiple ones that happen. So it could be centered around a certain team. And as you get on new team members, it wouldn't be bad to say, hey, reference these documents because they can learn from it and learn how to maybe come in and be that much ahead of the game if they see what went wrong in the last one, what did they decide to do differently versus them repeating a failure off the bat. Not to say that people can't learn from their mistakes, but let's not set them
yeah.
up that way. Let's set them in there to have hopefully the best outcome possible because at the end of the day, time is money. So we don't want to have rework. That's waste. We don't want that. That costs money. So let's not do
Yeah, I'm horrible at that, brother. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't check past AARs. That's my fault. Like, yeah, I mean, it's there. Um, but I just never check it for some reason. I have no idea why. I mean, maybe it's just laziness. I probably should do
but
be
but
better at it.
it happens though because when you think about a work period, I mean, it's always something new, and it's almost like you sometimes don't have that moment to catch a breath when you're on to something else or something else's priority. So it's like sometimes at some point, maybe it's quarterly, I don't know, but take that time to look back and say, especially when it comes to a project, at least look back at the last one and see if you're a group, a company that is in the habit of doing
You're very kind, Larry, because
that.
I'm sitting here thinking I'm sure at the time like I got this. I know what the project's gonna be about. I know what to
Exactly,
do.
exactly. That's right. That's what I just said. I did this. Oh, I got this. I
Yeah, this is
don't
easy.
need to look at no stinking paper. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm that kind of person.
So, how often should leaders conduct AARs in their own careers? And I think we kind of covered this throughout the discussion. Sometimes it's just, it could be project driven. I think that's the most common time to do it would be
Mm,
project driven in your career, but it could be, more frequent depending on what you do over time. You know?
that's interesting. I looked at the question a little differently. I looked
Okay.
at it as in your career, like
Like
from
you're done.
entry entry level to retirement, right?
Oh, I
That's
mean,
the way I saw that. So
ye-
like
but you're gonna
so
be at that time. Everything is gonna be antiquated by the time you review it. Somebody read it, they're gonna be like, "What is this? Why did he do that? Did that existed then? What does that
so
mean?"
I think there's very distinct phases of your career, you know? Like think back, right? So like early career, like I call that phase like feed the animal, right? And
Mm,
this is I feel like you could relate to this, right? Like you are constantly looking how to improve yourself. How do I get promoted? How
true.
do I get promoted quicker, right?
Yes.
So like in
100%.
the army, like how many times you check your points, you know?
Oh, yes. Oh,
So
it's
it's
religious.
continuous. You know, it's
Mhm.
always like trying to find ways to improve. Try to find tricks, like try to get information. How do I get promoted quicker? How do I do this? So I feel like that is the early stage where it's just like a constant AR. Like that's you just living the cycle of like just looking for improvement and just hunger.
Yeah.
Mid career, I call that sustainment phase. And I think people just kind of look at it annually, like at the end of the
Mhm.
year, just kind of like see like, am I still happy in this company? You know, like,
Mm,
is this where I expect it to be? Is this where I want to be? You know, am I growing? Am I properly compensated? Like, I feel like that's your sustainment phase in your career where you're kind of
yeah,
established a little bit, you have a family, you can't really take too many risks. Where like really in the younger, early career phase, like you're taking risks all the time, right? Like
yeah.
you're hunger and you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And the beautiful thing about it is like you could take bold, risky actions, fuck it up, and still have time to recover, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, okay, I'm all right. But sometimes you take bold risk and it pays off even better. But mid career, I feel like you really don't take as many risks because now you have more responsibilities. Now you have a house, you have a mortgage, you have a wife, you have kids, you have college tuition, and it's
Very
just
true.
like, so it's really, really like mindful, probably about once a year. And then like
Yeah.
your later career, I call that the off ramping. And this is like where maybe every 6 months you start looking at things differently, based on my career. Am I financially in a good position to retire? You know,
Mm, very
um,
true. Very true.
can I work less? Maybe project versus full time. Do I
Mm,
want to do that? You start looking at your career and like start thinking like, man, am I in a good position to be debt free? And if not debt free, how do I get there? Before I retire. So all those things are kind of different, and I feel like every 6 months you could probably do that when you're late stage because it's like you have targets, and if you don't have targets, you're trying to develop targets how to achieve them, and you need a little bit more eyes on at that point because now you're getting to do a major life decision of like off ramping. So yeah,
and
so
you hit
that's
on
the way
you
I
hit on
looked at it.
I mean, that's all great because when you think about in the military and you hit that stage and you want to
Oh
get
yeah,
promoted and you're, as you mentioned, in like it's points. So in the army you have a point system and you're like, do I have enough points to get promoted to that next level when you're in that space, that phase of your career. So you're constantly looking at the number. Did it change? Sending in documents,
yes,
updating it, constantly looking at it. Every month, did the points drop? Do I need to get more? And it's like you're,
yes.
and those are for those that are like hungry to get promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So you take that now in the civilian sector, especially people that have their eye on the prize and they're like, my main goal is to keep moving up. So then
Mm-hmm.
you're going to constantly look for feedback. What can I do to get better?
Yes, yes.
Hopefully, doing your own personal AR to say, okay, how do I position myself next year? For
Yep.
example, when I mentor people and they say they want to get promoted, I say, plainly ask, first say, I want to be promoted next year.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do to get there?
Yep.
And you're asked this of your manager, you want it plain. They
Yes.
say, well, now they could say, well, maybe next year's aggressive. Okay, but I still, put something out there. Okay, let's say they say maybe a year and a half. Here's what I would like you to do. I want a list. You write it down. You work on those things. You make sure you
Yep.
have routine check-ins to say, I've achieved this. How am I doing this space? You want to be time to course correct. And then when
Yes.
you get to that point, you say, I've reached all this. Now it's back on the
Yes.
manager. What do I do?
Yes. That's
And that's for
preaching,
people
brother.
that like want to go up. Because I know there's people out there, nothing against it, that's like, you know what, I don't want the headache. I don't want the
Yep.
responsibility. I
Yep.
want to do my job and go home. I'm not worried about it. And it's like that's fine, you know. But and at the same time though, when you get raises, you still want to be positioned for that. So it's still
Mm-hmm.
looking back, have I positioned myself to maximize at least that raise?
Yes.
And if you haven't, then that's when you do that reflection. Say, okay, what can I do? Do I need to, you know, get my numbers up, hit that quota. Maybe I fell short, maybe I missed too much time out of work, and figure out how can I, plan and adjust and all this stuff. So really, take it to the next step. All about getting better. It's all about improving.
Man, perfect. Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, no, I mean it's true. Like it really, like I really love the idea of like going in and say, hey, I would like to get promoted. Like honestly, being upfront and blunt about it is like the best thing possible, right?
Yeah.
Because people, I feel like some people will do extra things in the hopes that their boss notices and they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Pays
that
attention. Yeah.
right doesn't always happen. So you
No.
gotta like put it up front in their face, like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to get promoted. What do I need to do? And as a leader, somebody asks me that, and I give them a list, and they accomplish that list. Like
That was
I
on
would,
you.
yeah, I would feel the pressure, bro. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god,
But
just go back.
I've had shaky leaders that'll say, here's what you need to do.
Mm,
But then they kind of throw it out there haphazardly. Well, if you did these things and then you accomplish it, they're like, oh well, but there's something else. And it's like, whoa, we had this
yeah,
up front. I've been checking in with you, or maybe not. And I think sometimes leaders fail employees when they might not do frequent check-ins. They get too
mm,
busy and they don't make time for their employees, or
mm,
everything is good throughout the year. Oh, you're good, you're good, you're good until the end of the year. And it's like, oh, here's what you didn't do. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
yeah.
The whole time you said I was good. No real
That's sad.
feedback. And then you want to drop it all at the end. Here's why you're not going to. And it's like, well, why didn't you give me an opportunity to correct it? Why didn't you give me a chance to, at least state a case, or give me feedback, if you observe something, what could I have done better? And actually coach me up for the next level, not just get caught up in your own stuff and like, well, I'm not worried about it. It's like, come on, that's not a good look. Got to do better, people. Got to do better.
True.
All right, last one. So, how do you turn AAR insights into concrete action? So, I'm going to read one by the book because we've covered all of this, I think, in this discussion. So, turning an AAR, after action review, insights into action involves structuring findings into clear, prioritized tasks, assigning ownership, creating detailed action plans with timelines, tracking progress visually. So that may be going back to the Gantt chart you're talking about, or some kind of visual. Maybe it's some kind of metric, and embedding learnings into training for continuous improvement. So always looking to get better. It's about moving from what happened to what do we do next by focusing on root causes, fostering accountability, and ensuring transparent follow up, making learning tangible and impactful. And I think one of the keys there as part of continuous improvement is the root causes. So many
Mm,
times, people, teams, departments, groups are just used to just actions, never
mm,
slowing down, truly slowing down to speed up, diving into what was the root cause of why this happened to fix that so it doesn't happen again. They'll just try something different,
yeah.
but never identifying the root cause of why it failed in the first place. And then that fails, and then this
Mm,
fails, and then this fails. And you just keep shooting in the dark until you
that's
finally
true.
something lands. And it's like, well, you just got lucky.
That's very true. So for me, the key point of that was ownership.
Ah,
Sign ownership. That to me is what I think is success
yeah.
for carrying out the action. Yeah. So root cause analysis is pretty good too. I didn't think about it as much. I just assumed that somebody's assigned to it
Hmm.
would do that. But you're right. I don't think necessarily people would do that or take the time to reflect on the root cause of it. So
No.
I could see. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it for this time. I think there was a very good conversation. I hope, people really take that. I know a takeaway for me. I actually need to implement. I need to write it down. I need to implement AARs into my work and do my own personal reflection because, sometimes, the ego can get the best of us. We think we're that good. And it's like, no, there's always room for improvement, with all the
Yeah.
work that we do. And I know that it can be a tough pill to swallow when someone's like, oh, you didn't meet this, you didn't meet that. Though you may think you did, it's like, okay, let me take it on the chin and then, stew on it for a minute. Okay, how can I come back out the gate stronger and better than ever?
True. Well, hopefully I'll do the same. I don't know when. I gotta put it on the calendar actually.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
All
Lose 10
right.
pounds and an
That's,
AAR.
hey,
Okay.
that's a constant battle, brother. Constant battle.
Awesome.
All right. Well, then, thanks for tuning in to Commander Corporate. If today's episode gave you value, do us a favor, share with a colleague or teammate who's ready to step into leadership. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Connect with us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts for more leadership insights and resources. And until next time, lead with clarity, lead with purpose, and always remember, mission first, people always. I'll catch you next time.